Welcome to the Goods from the Woods. My name is Rivers Langley, and I am chillin' hardcore in Music City, USA, with two of my favorite guests of the show that just so happen to be in town. This worked out perfect, and they've never been on a podcast together. First of all, sitting here on my left,
Ben Sawyer.
Ben Sawyer, and on my right,
Chris Crofton.
What? We got these two in the same room. Two of the Titan guests of the Goods from the Woods. I was so thrilled that both of you are.
What if we're mortal enemies?
Yeah, I know. I
We just fist bumped and no sparks.
all right.
So.
Well, hey, then it's perfect. It was meant to be.
There's only room for one Titan on this.
These are two of my favorites right here. It's great to see you fellas. I wanted to start out in our traditional way with an ungodly concoction, and I wanted to shout out our friend at Jacob the Hodge, who suggested this. I happened to be back down south and immediately got a message from Jacob that was like, hey, do you guys have Ollie's? Do y'all know what Ollie's is?
Like Aldi's?
Ollie's.
Oh, Ollie's Bargain Basement.
Yes.
It's like the place where the roof opens up and a helicopter comes and just drops things in like a crane.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So Ollie's, for instance, 2 years ago, I was at Ollie's around Halloween, and they had all their Halloween stuff. They had an entire 10-foot tall shelf of nothing but latex masks of Mitt Romney. This was 2021. So
That sounds cool.
yeah, I mean, it
That
tells
really
you.
does sound cool. That's like they're a costume store?
No, they're like
Sometimes.
So let's
Just
say
depends.
you have a grocery store and an entire pallet of creamed corn falls on the ground and they all get dented.
Oh, so it's like
Let's say you owned a storage locker place and someone didn't pay their rent for 5 years.
Yeah.
And you opened it up and there inside were cases of Mitt Romney.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's say you made a terrible investment in
See,
Mitt Romney
I
masks.
don't understand how business works.
Well, they
I really don't.
They
So
don't
it's like
either.
why would they have all those? I would never like. Someone was like, why would a business have a bunch of things all at once?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Strangely enough, it sounds to me like you know more about business than they do.
no,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
be like, I do not like. You're gonna die in 10 minutes if you can't explain why someone would have a ton of weird stuff at a store in one.
Everyone listening will be dead, Chris.
Yeah.
Because no one can explain why you would have Mitt Romney masks.
Hey,
No, certainly that, but I mean, I can't even understand why some. I don't know anything about why would a bunch of dented cream corn be in this discount store. I'd be like, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe they got it from Dubai or something.
Well, no,
you know what I
they-
mean? Like just a guess. Like
Yeah.
total, like
Well, no,
Just sell it as extra cream corn.
Right.
Twice
yeah,
cream.
I wish I knew that. Like I would just never. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to
Doesn't
say, it's
matter.
like if Kroger has an accident and they can't sell those things anymore because the hoity-toity people that shop at Kroger aren't going to touch a dented cream corn.
That's so funny.
They slide it onto Ollie's.
Around here, that's the Inglewood Kroger, by the way.
The idea of fans of Kroger being fancy is so fun.
Oh, it's very regional, man. Kroger, until we got Publix a few years ago in my hometown, Kroger was the fancy grocery store. Crochet is what we
was
called
the
it.
not fancy
Wow.
one? Just some guy had an old pickup
Oh.
truck with a bed full of stuff in it, and you're like, go down there and give me a handful of them beans.
No, Food Max, dude, and then later Food World.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Wait, did Food Max become Food World?
In my town, they did. I don't know if the companies became each other, but the space previously occupied by Food Max eventually became Food World.
Was there like your mom goes to Food Max kind of jokes?
Yeah, kind of a little bit. I mean, we lived closest to the Kroger. We weren't fancy people,
Oh,
but
come on. You live closest to the Kroger? You act all humble over here.
yeah, I'm
Your first name is Rivers. You're
That's
not.
true.
Come on now.
I know, really. The Vanderbilts of Auburn,
got the-
Tennessee,
Yeah,
Auburn,
there's
Alabama.
no way.
I
There's
got
no
the
way.
hippie parents, man. No, we didn't have a Whole Foods.
Or else you could have poor parents that were faking it and named you Rivers.
Yeah.
With high hopes.
But anyway, all that is to say, at Jacob the Hodge hits me up and is like, Ollie's has a drink that you need to know about, and that drink is called Dragon Energy.
Romney's juice.
Romney juice. This is, if anything, this is Mandela juice, because this is made in Johannesburg, South Africa.
What?
So,
Allegedly.
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 That's the kind of shit that people like energy drinks want to hear.
If it's as old as the Mitt Romney mask, I suspect that they had it in a warehouse because of apartheid era
It was
anti-export
dented. Look, it was
policies.
dented.
It did sustain a minor amount of damage. And if I'm being honest with you boys, the reason I wanted to share this, I did have a couple others that I found down here, but this one expires in February. So I was like, well, now's the time if we're going to drink it, because I'm not coming back here till April. So
botulism can't survive in an energy drink anyway.
But that's the thing. Yeah, energy drink will defeat all diseases.
Nothing can survive in an energy drink.
I mean, unless it actually is made out of botulism, which is also possible.
Well, here's the thing.
Then it would be called something like Botch X.
Botonic.
Look, I'm
Botch 420, 69.
I mean, I should point this out that most foreign countries have much stricter health codes than the United States does. So I imagine the people of South Africa are probably a little more, hardcore about
South Africa, Arkansas is probably a town.
South Africa, Arkansas.
This is made by Kingsley Beverages, as I said, based out of Johannesburg, South Africa, and their website says Dragon Energy is specifically designed to maximize mental and physical performance. That's code for it's a boner pill.
It does. Does it say something like it gives you sex?
No, it just anytime you see like maximizes mental and physical performance, you're like, okay, that's a little coded.
I thought sex always had rhino in it. They would call it rhino because that means sex to me.
Well, Dragon's the next step up, man. You think
it is?
I mean,
dragons are hornier than rhinos.
Have you not seen the beast pyramids where like they have the different ones? Dragon is above rhino.
I'm 53 years old. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Sorry, they didn't have pyramids when I was a kid. So.
Beast pyramids? What's that?
It's like the food pyramid, but a ranking of beasts.
Oh, was it also rigged?
Yes, it is also
Did you know the food pyramid was rigged by lobbyists? I can't fucking believe that.
That's the fun.
That still knocks me out.
They said that everyone should just eat an incredible amount of bread
and milk.
Yeah. That's what you have
for
to,
real, because the dairy industry lobbied for the top spot. I mean, you could have gotten on there with any food if you had the money.
Yeah, and the other thing, the top of the pyramids, where it's, sugars, the thing you're not supposed to have, they never actually put a picture of anything. It was always just little white stars at the top. So again, I imagine that's probably the ice cream lobby just being like, look, okay, I know we're fucked up, but just don't put our picture on blast, please.
Who is buried in the food pyramid? Is the Purdue family? It's like the Ramses the Great of it.
Funny.
Oh no, it's
the King's Chamber in the food pyramid.
Yeah. It's C. Everett Koop. That's where he's buried. It's the Surgeon General from back in the day.
The Reagan era Surgeon General.
Yeah.
Oh, what a tour we're on here.
Bunch of
the Woods podcast.
Bunch of old milk in the King's Chamber.
The chamber.
All the
of
things you're
milk.
supposed to eat.
But yeah, it says the power is yours.
It's got a website.
Oh yeah,
drink has a website.
Oh, I consulted
any
the website.
comics listening right now who don't have a website. Just know this drink has a website. You should have one too. Does the drink have tour dates?
Yeah, actually, they sponsor an incredible amount of motocross in South Africa.
Do they? They just pour it into the motorcycles and it goes?
That's how it runs. Yeah.
I should announce that actually Dragon Energy does have a tour right now, December 17th, 2022, Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah. It's the extra dented cans, and we don't know what they're going to do. The flavor that we got here, this is just the original flavor, which I fear might be the generic Red Bull ass energy drink flavor, which I hate. And if that's the case, I'm going to be upset.
The fact that Rivers has tasted enough energy drinks that he has preferences on the flavors of energy drinks.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, energy drinks for me are just like a cry for help. I don't care what they taste like. You know what I mean? They're just when I need to feel like a murderer in a hurry. I love that he's drinks enough energy drinks that he's like, has a palate for him. I hope this isn't that basic ass Red Bull taste.
Yeah, well, that is my least favorite, and that is the most common.
Do you drink energy drinks in your real life like a lot because of this? Really? You just said that like a
hell yeah
Vietnam veteran.
You're not going to go to a restaurant and talk to a sommelier who only drinks wine at work.
Right, but the thing is, the parameters are so narrow for what energy drinks can taste like.
Oh, that's not true at all.
Oh, wow.
The universe is expanding.
Oh, you wish.
Ever Star
That's how
Words.
you sound like me talking about wine coolers in 1987.
You're a Bartles and James guy?
Yo, I'm not kidding. Me and my friends talked about them like they were seriously changing the game.
I mean,
so yeah, I mean,
I got to say, wine coolers, they took a hot like 2 decades off, and now
yeah, they suck. They're
just called White
sugar.
Claw
They
now.
just taste like sugar.
yeah, now it's coming. Now it's all coming back. They got the seltzer,
Not coming back for me.
the alcoholic seltzers.
way.
Yeah, nice
Fucking
try.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
doing a great job with the kids, aren't they? Doing good.
I mean, I
They're wearing
had
Jinkos again, so I don't know.
They're doing
true.
great.
I had a Sonic ocean water flavored alcoholic seltzer a couple weeks ago. So that's where we're at.
Why do young people want flavorless shit? I guess because it makes them think they're going to be skinny.
It's not flavorless. It's original.
Yeah. See,
Which, this one?
well,
Original.
Oh, well, this one.
This
I
one
was
is the
talking about it in
original.
general. Now I was thinking about White Claw. I was just thinking
yeah,
about
yeah.
getting drunk on seltzer instead of like, a robust lager like Schlitz.
yeah.
It's a shortcut. You know how you had to learn how to drink beer?
Well,
They
see, you
think
don't anymore.
They
That's
think they're
the
going to
thing.
stay skinny. That's why.
Yeah.
They want to be skinny for Instagram.
No, I think it was just a clever rebranding of malt liquor, calling it seltzer. Brilliant. Because now the stigma's gone. Like back in the day, if everybody was drinking beers and you had Mike's Hard Lemonade, you were lame.
Yep.
And now you roll up with the White Claw. It's like, hey, I'm trying to stay in shape, man. That's all it took. It's just a pretense.
Let me tell you, as one of the middle class whites in America, it's working. When we have gatherings,
White Claw?
You got the White Claw.
they bring the seltzers. They
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge hit because it's some sort of health. It makes people feel like they're being healthy and drunk at the same time.
That's a good feeling.
It's incredible. And they get a DUI and they're like, I don't see how. I only had White Claw.
And the officer goes, "I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't realize it was that."
Yeah,
He just
yeah.
rips up the ticket.
How many
He
did
goes,
you have? I don't know, like 12.
I'm clawed up.
Maybe I'm old school, ma'am, but I just don't believe anybody should get a DUI off of wine coolers. So
Wine
please
coolers
proceed home.
doesn't
Right,
count.
right.
Drive backwards the rest of the way, please.
Yeah, get back to the pool where you belong. Let's give this a crack. This is everyone's favorite part of the show. Please hold. Oh, all right.
Everyone's
well, it's no, it is the damn Red Bull fucking taste.
This is actually a very funny moment where Rivers is mad about the fact that it's basic Red Bull taste.
Well, the last one we had when I was in LA, it smelled like urine, like straight up.
This is the
urine.
fake.
And then that made Rivers happy because at least it was going to be a different
At least
flavor
it's
than
different.
Like,
basic
finally
ass
some
Red
variety.
Bull.
Yeah, the urine taste is.
He would rather have sailor urine
Yeah, I would.
flavor.
Ladies and gentlemen, right now, Chris Crofton has in front of him a glass of cold brew coffee
And Dragon.
a glass of Dragon.
I need all the help I can get. I'm an old man.
Well,
You got to really, old people need
cheers.
a lot of.
Cheers to this dented. Energy
Cheers.
drink.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Oh, of course. Oh.
Yeah, this tastes just like Red Bull.
Yeah,
it's
gross.
original. But can I just note?
Tastes like greasy Red Bull. It's got sort of a sheen on it.
Yeah, that's
Ooh.
the dent in the can is
Not good.
Has let some chemicals loose into the.
And this is from Ollie's, right? We want to give a shout out to the people making
Yeah, well, no, this is
offering dented.
It's from Ollie's via South Africa.
And Ollie's Ollies.
Apostrophe S, yeah, it's a guy, and there's a cartoon of him all over the grocery store.
Rivers, I don't know. I've never seen something like this before, really. Maybe you've seen it before because of your taste. But
Yes.
this can has 208 calories.
That's from the fat content, I think.
Tastes like Red Bull with WD-40.
Well,
It does.
A little bit. It's got an aftertaste.
one of the reasons that
Probably
I'm
the B vitamins.
yeah. Well, one of the reasons I'm mad is because these are the other flavors they've got. Extreme dry lemon. So they got that going on. Maybe it's like a brute champagne sort
I
of
hate
situation.
wet lemons. I would love that.
Yeah. Well, it's just one that's been left out for a while. That's what
I like lemons, but I don't like all that juice.
They have a ginger fire, which all right.
That sounds good. Sounds healthy. That sounds healthy.
That sounds like a Playboy centerfold is what that sounds like. Ginger fire? Hell yeah. They have extreme iced fruit.
Very vague.
I was like, maybe that's a South African thing that I'm just not aware of.
I go, look, we can't always get the same fruits around here, so let's not get people's hopes up.
And then finally, this is not a flavor I ever associate with the word extreme, but extreme banana. And you're like, how extreme can we make a banana flavor?
Whoever's naming those is like a cousin of the owner.
Yeah,
That's terrible. Extreme banana. That's a silly thing to say.
So banana's not a fruit.
It's a berry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that right?
You're right, though. It's just not the right extreme banana. Just doesn't.
Yeah, there's no tartness.
It doesn't
to
roll off the tongue though either.
Yeah, it's like a black and white photograph. There's no saturation to jack up on it. You know?
Nobody ever goes, "Hey, we'll try some extreme bananas."
What's extreme about them?
Yeah.
An extreme banana's a dick.
Yeah, I know. He's an extremist.
Yeah, or just like a dick. No, but like I think of an extreme banana, I think dildo.
That's extreme eggplant.
Okay.
Yeah, emoji.
That's
right?
a better name for a fucking drink. Extreme eggplant sounds great.
Yeah, Chris, do you think that he knows about energy drinks? Literally, the end of the session comes whenever we try out the dildo of the
Oh yes, the dildo of the week.
extreme banana.
Yeah, extreme banana.
Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, I'm giving that a 0. It's got if you find the dragon energy, not good.
Tastes like regular old stuff, but it also kind of gives me indigestion too, a little bit. I kind of burped after it in a way that was unpleasant.
I got to say, Rivers goes, "This is not very good," and then he picks up the can and polishes it off.
I have to.
One giant. Oh.
I made a solemn vow. I would finish them if anybody has.
A solemn vow to who? Yourself?
Myself and
I love those.
my audience.
I love those solemn vows. I made those for years about drinking. I will never quit. I will never quit drinking. Never. I'll never, ever. Because I'm smarter. No one can stop me.
But yeah, shout out to at Jacob the Hodge for giving me the lowdown on the Ollie situation. I hope I can find a different flavor at some point. I'd be willing to go check out an extreme banana.
If
Well,
you're
that's
listening-
disappointing. Something called Dragon. It looks much more exciting than that flavor.
If you're listening in Johannesburg, South Africa right now, please send one to Rivers Langley.
Yeah, just to drive.
Just Google him. His internet's on. His address on the internet. Like
Send him a
everybody
dry
else.
lemon.
Yeah, send me the dry lemon. I'm the only Rivers Langley on the planet. I'm very easy to find. Come on.
Also, Rivers not landlocked. Your theory about, as once again broken down, your theory. You know, if you guys listen regularly, you know Rivers has a theory that most energy drinks are made in port cities and places where people can escape to international waters.
Or I've expanded that out to deserts/mountains where a compound can be formed to fortify their defenses if the government comes for them.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of them out in Vegas, and I'm like, hey, those spring mountains are right there. You can do a Mad Max Fury Road run for the mountains if the FDA comes knocking at your door, and then you got a fortified position.
The Federal Drink Administration.
We banned this in South Africa, and we wondered what happened to all of it. I think Ollie says all of it.
It's all at Ollie's. That we all float down here. That's what it should be called, because most of the items fell off of a shipping transport. Before I came here, I was kind of wondering about Nashville, and specifically Nashville eccentrics. Just kind of famous oddballs in the history of this great city. And I ended up finding a website, and I don't even know what to make of this, but it's a blog called eccentricculinary.com, and they have an article or a blog post, I guess, that is the fattest man in Tennessee.
Oh.
Sam Riddleberger, the prince of Nashville caterers.
Well, you just become, if you get to be the fattest, they just go, "You're a prince now."
In the 1850s, yes.
Oh, 1850s.
Yes.
I was about to say, I don't know that guy.
You never met Sam Riddleberger?
I've done a bunch of catering in this town. I have too. I never ran into old Sam Riddleberger, but I probably ran into one of his descendants.
Yeah.
Cocaine Riddleberger.
Let me just say here, I want to stick up for this guy. People are always like making fun of Taft. President like William.
Yeah.
Well, people are always making fun
like,
of him.
he's so big for being so big, and he was huge, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like before about the 1950s, being fat, it was not easy. Right?
Yeah.
You couldn't just go to like McDonald's. Like you had to work at it.
Yeah.
Like, this guy
It was a
had to
power
spend
move.
Time. It was
a way to show you were
power
wealthy.
move.
Was it just a way to show you were wealthy? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, that's probably what they said.
Like, I want to date that fat
probably
man
said
because
that.
he's got access to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Very
Because
effective rumor started by.
it was an indication that you were rich, because in the days before cars, most people
Holy
walked.
Shit.
Yeah, and most people only had as much food as they had grown,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to like parse that out over the winter. This guy's just chowing down the whole time.
So
So did that work for women as well? Like,
Yes.
would Giselle Bundchen be a big fat person back then?
yeah, that's why when you see paintings from, kind of the late Romantic period, neoclassical era. A lot of, the gorgeous women
so
were...
Giselle Bundchen looks like an old-time poor person.
Yes, 100%.
She's scrawny. Someone in the street would kick if they saw in 1720 or whatever.
So this...
One day I'm going to marry me, a football player, and get out of here.
Right. Kick her. Kick her.
You'll always be skinny, Giselle.
Kick her. She's poor. Kick her.
Me bones.
Back then, kicking the poor was a huge...
A number one sport in England.
hobby. Yeah, there was no Instagram or anything, so you had to
live in the moment.
Giving poor people Indian burns was like a huge.
What's that? You cold? You cold? Come here.
Kick him.
One day I'm going to get fat. It's going to be harder to break my bones when you kick me because I'm going to have padding. Whatever, Giselle.
Kick that Victoria's Secret angel.
So yeah, this is from eccentricculinary.com. This was written by H.D. Miller. So I was going to read this article.
Eccentricculinary.com.
Yeah. So in 1857, the fattest man in Tennessee was Sam Riddleberger, a popular Nashville restaurateur who weighed a whopping 543 pounds.
You know, he probably told people that. He was like, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm the fattest man in Tennessee.
Yeah. Equals the wealthiest, equals have sex with me right now. Yeah.
Riddleberger cut an imposing figure in pre-Civil War Nashville, a well-liked stout man with a knack for getting up elaborate dinners featuring the many staples of the era: wild game, abundant Norfolk oysters, whiskey, and cigars.
That sounds fun.
I mean, dude, and
I want to go to his dinner.
Well, so the restaurant, I looked this up. It is now, I think, the Doubletree Inn next to the state capitol. It's not there anymore.
No way.
Yeah, but it was
I love that
pretty
kind of
much
stuff.
Smack dab in the middle of...
We got to get a metal detector down there and find his pocket
This
watch.
guy's forks that he dropped.
I was about to say...
I'm not kidding. Yeah,
oyster
metal
shells.
detectors.
Think about how, there's probably a layer of oyster shells underneath that Doubletree
Metal
Inn.
detectors, start your engines.
Born in 1824, he started out as a Nashville postal clerk in the late 1830s, and as a young man of...
Didn't we all?
As a young man of comparatively slender build, he clerked on steamboats, making the run to New Orleans and back.
He was poor.
He then owned a billiard room, bowling alley, and saloons, and managed the racetrack where his talent as a quote-unquote getter-upper of good dinners became apparent. So he started being, I guess, a cook at a racetrack, and sometime
I was born at the wrong time. We all were. We could be living nice lives, be the best cook at a racetrack. Instead, we're doing this.
We'd all be dead by now because we've out-aged ourselves.
Oh yeah, we'd be dead, but we would have had 8 children and a good life, and we'd be buried with our cooking tools, and we'd be happy as birds.
We'd be buried in the food pyramid.
Now we're stuck looking at goddamn timelines and monetizing things.
Back then, just like you grew up and you were a kid, and you're like, one day I'm gonna be the fattest man in Tennessee, Mama. And she's like, keep on dreaming, boy. Keep on dreaming.
Then I'm gonna get gout and I'm gonna die at age 32, and they'll fill my coffin with oyster shells or whatever.
Sometime before 1856, he opened Riddleberger's Eating Saloon in the Colonnade Building, just a block west from the public square on the corner of Dedrick and 4th Avenue.
Wow.
And
Eating Saloon.
I love the name. The
Everything was just a
Riddleberger's
saloon back
Eating
then.
Saloon.
Yeah. And you go to the sleeping saloon to go to bed.
We have arguments about politics, not dreams.
Where's mom? She's in the hospital saloon.
Yeah. Daddy done got elected to Congress. He's going to be in the voting saloon. He's going to be in Congress.
That's true. And everybody was drinking everywhere back then.
Sam Riddleberger and his brother John were what was known in the latter half of the 19th century as sports. Dapper men who loved the loush entertainments and the fringes of societies that dwelled there. For the 25 years before his death in January of 1877, Sam was a regular in all the exciting and expected places: horse races, cockfights, illegal boxing matches, and public hangings.
Oh my God in heaven. What channel is it? What about channel? What fucking website is this again?
Eccentric Culinary.
I love that.
I do too. I was just looking for Nashville eccentrics. I was thinking there'd be some
my God.
guy that was famous, and then this article came up.
I
was
love
this is...
going to public hanging.
I mean, as Bob Dylan said, they're sending postcards to
There's
hang.
nothing better than being fat and going to public hanging.
Right now, someone's listening, going, right? Someone's listening and saying, I can't believe they used to fight cocks. And nothing about the public hanging. Someone right now is going, I can't believe they used to fight roosters.
It's a terrible thing they did.
We're worried about the animals.
Both brothers were well-educated and well-bred. John was quiet, unassuming, and courteous. Sam, a bit more boisterous. Everyone who met them liked them. During the Civil War, Brother John moved to Louisville and set up shop running the biggest faro bank in several states. So faro is the game that poker replaced. Faro is what they play. If you ever watch Deadwood, that's what Al Swearingen is running, is faro games. A faro bank, you were the guy with the money, and people would borrow from you, and you would take a cut from their winnings, essentially. So this guy was a rich dude that problem gamblers would borrow money off of. He's a bookie, essentially.
This sounds good. Yeah, they sound like a lot of fun.
So he eventually accumulated over $100,000 of gold in the process of being a faro banker.
Wow.
And he bought racehorses and regularly took them to Saratoga, where the New York high society people held court during racing season. If John was a man who loved cars and horses, Sam was the king of the fighting cocks. Described by Nashville Union and American, this is from March 20th, 1875. They called him the most widely known game chicken raiser in Tennessee. So that was
game chicken.
That was his thing.
Raiser.
Yeah. And he popped up in the press with a surprising regularity. This is from the Nashville Union and American. On election day in Nashville, this is August 5th, 1869. This is the quote. Sam Riddleberger, the largest man in Tennessee, along with Charlie Decker, reported to be the smallest man in the world, will be conveyed to West Fourth Ward poll in a large wagon this morning so they can have a chance to cast their votes. We understand that a large procession will be formed, headed by a band to escort the extraordinary pair to the place holding the election.
Yeah, you'll know which car it is too, because it's the one that's leaning real hard on the right side.
Yes, exactly. So Charlie Decker,
chicken bones coming out the window.
Charlie Decker was a stalwart on the circus freak show scene. He was the smallest man in the world. That was his thing, and just I guess as a way for the local Democratic Party to drum up people, because election day used to be fun. If you've seen Gangs of New York, there'd just be a giant fight in the streets sometimes, or just people would be going nuts one way or the other. And in Nashville, 1869, so post-Civil War, radical Republicans got all that stuff going on. They were like, what's the best way to get people out to the polls? It's like, all right, well, circus is in town. We've got the smallest guy ever. Let's get that giant fat guy that owns the Oyster House.
Wait, they were going for the Democrats?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
that would make sense.
Yeah,
This is when the federal government was still paying attention, and they just couldn't use guns to keep black people away from the polls. So they're like, we're going to have to use a carrot, not the stick.
Yeah.
And they go, I know who likes carrots.
Yeah. One thing, and this is the writer says this, one thing I want to highlight about this anecdote is the ability of a fat man to draw a crowd in the mid-19th century. Which, as a fat stand-up comedian, this is not the case anymore. Let me tell you, folks. So
I thought you were going to say he got elected to be mayor because they just weighed everybody and he was the heaviest, and that's how you got to be mayor back then.
He weighed the most.
Just they walked up to the scales. Burgers won it again.
Yeah. So
this just makes me sad. I miss this. I've gone crazy, but missing. I'm so dissatisfied with the present that this is just all making me sad. This all sounds so wonderful. Just when being fat was like a wonderful thing. Now they got this horrible movie, The Whale, making everybody think everybody who's fat is like miserable. And back then, being fat was like a power move. And that is crazy. I mean, how much further away can we? The world is run by fitness nuts now.
Yeah.
Who want to live forever. Instead, back then, everybody was willing to die and they were happy to be fat.
I own a restaurant. I get to chop giant slabs of meat every day. And
seriously, this shit makes me sad. I'm insane probably because I'm sure that, obviously life back then sucked a million different ways.
Right.
By the way, if we've done the math, we already know the guy dies at age 53.
Right. That's the thing is that he didn't spend his whole life looking at hot people on some slideshow. I enjoy Instagram, but it's really a diabolical slideshow of dicks.
So there are many newspaper stories relating to the tastiness of Sam Riddleberger's food and to his hospitality, but convivial fat men were also a major attraction in and of themselves, to the point that his brother, John Riddleberger's obituary in the Louisville Courier in 1905 suggested that the success of Riddleberger's eating saloon was partly attributable to Sam's adiposity. Quote, his brother, Samuel Riddleberger, for years conducted a restaurant in Nashville, which got a lot of free advertising from the fact that Sam was probably the fattest man in Tennessee, if not the South. So people were eating here with just the simple thing of like, oh, that guy's huge. I bet that food kicks ass.
What did they say the name of that thing was? Convivial Fat Men?
Yes.
That's a indie rock band name.
That's a Mountain Goat
Everybody's
song.
skinny in the indie rock band.
Could you imagine being fat and melancholy back then and just being like, my attitude is preventing my fame?
Yeah.
It's-
I mean, yeah, I can't emphasize, and Ben, of course, is a history professor, and you can vouch for this. I can't emphasize enough how boring it used to be. So when just a giant man was walking down the street, people were like, well, shit, I've never seen anything like that.
Oh, it was 1 year ago. We recorded an episode of Gifts from the Woods with Nerado that was
Sam
just about
Patch.
Sam Patch.
A
A
guy
man
who-
who was famous for jumping off things.
He jumped off things, and he was the most famous man in 1820s America.
Andrew Jackson named a horse after him.
Yeah, this makes me sad. This is all sad. This is all stuff I would have excelled at, and I actually did excel at,
gonna
but just
say.
nobody cared.
The alcohol stuff.
I mean, I'm serious. I jumped off shit for years.
Let's talk. I mean, what's
I never made any money.
what'd you top off at? What was the biggest jump?
No, I mean, I just remember being drunk and I would jump off stuff and crash to the ground. Like I jumped off my friend's pickup truck over and over one night, like onto my head, just for to make people laugh. But I didn't get any money or anything, and I certainly didn't get a president naming their horse after me.
You would have.
You had to do it more than once. That's
No,
the thing.
I was doing that. I mean, this is me. I'm a 19th century man.
Hell yeah.
I'm a 19th century attraction
That's
and
true.
a 21st century sad man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just knowing that even if you got to be the fattest man in Tennessee, you wouldn't.
It
be
wouldn't
convivial.
matter.
You
They
wouldn't be
make some
convivial.
movie called The Whale about me.
I love this sentence. Fat men were especially prized before the Civil War. Unless you were a man of substance and leisure, it was very difficult to hit 300 pounds in this era.
Oh my goodness.
Hard physical labor, lots of walking, relative food scarcity, and or tastelessness meant that the average man rarely made it out of 200 pounds.
Yeah, and this guy made it through the Civil War, by the way.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a time when food is scarce. This
Yeah.
guy is still finding it.
Yeah.
And plus, everybody traveled by those like pump railroad things.
Yeah. There's no cars. You
It
have
was
to.
hard. It was hard to. It was hard to stay fat, even if you wanted to.
Those who were over 300 pounds were noted, talked about, and celebrated. For example, Dixon Hall Lewis was a lawyer and congressman from Alabama who ballooned to 500 pounds while in office. Gregarious and intelligent, Dixon Hall Lewis was considered an exceptional orator, but he always did so seated. Lewis,
500, you said?
500 pounds.
That's big.
Senator.
That's very big.
Lewis's official seat in the Senate was a specifically constructed chair fitted with unusually heavy suspension springs, from which he waxed eloquent about states' rights. Lewis reportedly broke the bottom out of a stagecoach, a story gleefully and often recounted by his enemies. The obese senator died in 1848 at the age of 46 while in Brooklyn, New York, visiting a weight loss doctor.
He broke the
What?
bottom out of a stagecoach.
This guy was.
I mean, it's
And people
funny.
made fun of him for it, but he was like, keep on telling it, man. That's how fat I am.
Well, and he was an amazing speaker, too. That's the thing. It's like, dude,
He was like, ladies and gentlemen of Nashville.
Do you know how rich
Yeah.
you have to be to wheeze like that?
yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, go ahead and laugh now, buddy. I am a great orator. I am going to layeth the smacketh down. One of the more popular lectures in the 1840s and 50s was the Reverend Henry Giles, a scrawny, hunchbacked Irish Catholic immigrant turned Unitarian minister whose humorous lectures on the literature were well attended and widely reprinted. Here's an excerpt from an 1844 lecture on Shakespeare's Falstaff that sums up the general attitude towards men of size. And this is incredible. And again, this is stand-up comedy. This is basically what this is a guy, he was a Unitarian minister, but he would just go around giving funny speeches about the entertainment of the day, which would have been literature. So this is his riff on
cockfighting.
And cockfighting and hanging. This the three things. There were three things to do: cockfights, public execution,
Private hangings were like pay-per-view.
and Shakespeare. That was it. So yeah, this is his riff on Falstaff and fat folks. He says, "There's something cordial in a fat man. Everybody likes him, and he likes everybody. Food does a fat man good. It clings to him. It's killing. It's great. It clings to him. He swells nobly out, and he fills a generous space in life. He is a living, walking specimen of gratitude to the bounty of the earth and the fullness thereof, an incarnate testimony against the vanity of care, a radiant manifestation of the wisdom of good humor. A fat man, therefore, almost in virtue of being a fat man, is per se a popular man, and commonly he deserves his popularity. A fat man... He's doing like the Chris Rock thing. He's just hitting the main thing. He keeps going back to it. I love it.
The fat man, the fat man.
Yeah, it's his daddy gets the big piece of chicken. He's just going to keep coming back to it. A fat man has an abundance of rich juices.
Lord.
Who said this?
This is a
hunchback.
This is a
Giles?
This is a
hunchback preacher.
A hunchback Unitarian Irish Catholic
what's his name?
immigrant. Henry Giles.
Henry Giles,
Yeah,
yeah.
Reverend Henry Giles. A fat man has an abundance of rich juices. The hinges of his system are well oiled. The springs of his being are noiseless. And so he goes on his way, rejoicing in full commitment and placidity. It doesn't take a great deal of wrong to make one hate a fat man. And if we are here not always so cordial to a thin man as we ought to be, Christian charity should take into account the force of prejudice that we have to overcome against thinness. So...
This guy's talking about everything but hunchbacks.
I know. Well, I mean, he's probably already did that earlier in the set. That's during a little bit about me.
He's trying to curry favor with the fat people, so he can go to good parties. Because you know how much this guy wished there was an essay like this written about hunchbacks.
He's calling Victor Hugo, like at the moment.
Who doesn't love
The
a
rich
hunchback?
juices of a hunchback.
Like a majestic peak on the horizon.
Yes.
The hunchback's hump rises with the morning
Enjoys life so much that his back got big.
sun. Can we still say hunchback? I feel like
think
we
so.
shouldn't. Every time I say it, I'm like, I don't know.
Luckily, it doesn't come up much.
But when it does,
So that's from a touring hunchback minister. This is an anonymous filler item from the Palmyra, Missouri Whig, dated September 20th, 1849. We like fat people. Good, jolly, laughing, broad-visaged, honest fat people. We love fat women, fat boys, fat babies, fat purses, a fat list of subscribers and advertisers, fat everything. Fatness is a sign of big health. Fat men are never treacherous.
That led to a lot of trouble right there.
Fat women are not sharp-tongued. Fat boys are not mischievous. Fat babies are always good and fine. Fat people are the kindest and therefore the most popular. Commend us to fat people. So that's just in the newspaper. They were just like, oh, well, we got 3 inches of space between these two headlines. I just typed something up and that was just thrown in there.
I wonder if some of this is like fat people writing this stuff.
I'm okay with
I'm
okay with that.
a rotund
Like
conspiracy.
fat people aren't treacherous. I mean, that's not right. I mean, even if fat people are fun, doesn't mean they're not treacherous.
I mean, I've told you, I'd stab any back. Any back I see, I'm stabbing it.
The more the better.
Yeah.
The more back there is.
Absolutely.
Rivers, you are not fat. Certainly not by these
Yeah, not by
standards.
these
I'm talking about
standards.
these. You're not. I mean, you look like a mild amount of fun to these people. If they saw you coming, they would say this guy might be a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's convivial, but
His
is he-
hinges aren't greased as much as we like it.
the juices, they're flowing, but not quite. All the way.
The
not all
vanity
way.
of care was something that stuck out to me too. They're not wrong about that.
Oh, yeah, no.
Vanity is like so popular now that no one even thinks it's a bad thing. So
Right.
it's like a virtue.
So now you get a sense of how valued fat men were when you realize that Kentucky alone produced two 300-pound Civil War generals, the Confederacy's Humphrey Marshall and the Union's William Bull Nelson, who, of course, is the guy who marched into Nashville. Lincoln thought naval officers turned General Bull Nelson handsome and aristocratic.
It's so weird because at the beginning of the war, the only real good general the Union has is Winfield Scott. And by that point, he was so big he couldn't even ride on a horse.
Yeah.
You'd think by these stats, you thought the Union would have won at Bull Run. It's been over. They'd have been like, they got the fattest general, they win.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
So on February 25th, 1862, federal troops under the command of Bull Nelson marched into Nashville. One of Nelson's subordinates, Brigadier General William B. Hazen, checked into the St. Cloud Hotel, 1 block from Riddleberger's, where he says, quote, "We found in the hotel, fast asleep and very drunk, one rebel soldier, the largest man I ever saw in a uniform. As I sent him away with a single guard, he looked like a veritable giant guarded by a pygmy. And we all wondered if he was a sample of the men we were about to encounter." So they see Sam sleeping in the hotel next to the restaurant, and this guy's like, Jesus, are they all this huge? Like,
they had to leave this one behind. He couldn't quite run with the rest of them.
Well, that's what happened. That's literally exactly what happened. They put him he was in a Confederate uniform. There's no pictures of this, which is upsetting. But yeah, he puts on the uniform. He's like, I guess I'll stay here, fellas, and defend the city. And then the troops came in. He's like, you guys want some food? And then he just signed an allegiance slip to the Union and just started serving out of the restaurant.
And they started showing him. He's like, I don't know if you believe you can trust me, but here's all these newspaper articles about how you can totally trust a fat man. You gotta.
I know. Yeah.
Hear them joints? No, you don't.
The end of the war did not.
Fat men cater to the enemy.
Yeah. They're not treacherous, but they will feed the army that just invaded your city.
Fat men fall asleep when there's a war and then cater to the enemy.
I mean, I will say he did literally exactly what I would do in that situation. Just man, guys, I can't handle this, and then everybody shows up like, would you take some food instead of bayoneting me? How about that?
Also like the way like he didn't even change his clothes. Like he could have probably got some different clothes.
Well, he fell asleep.
He just goes, I'm not even going to plan for this. He's just like, I'll wake up. Like,
the end of the war did not initially bring prosperity to Nashville. The Union Army had provided enough customers to allow 13 restaurants and 109 saloons to do a lively business during the occupation. But now that the soldiers had gone home, Sam struggled to make a go of things. In 1866, he introduced a price-fixed menu, only 50 cents for a meal, and fitted out rooms in the back of the restaurant as a hotel, advertising both things in the newspaper throughout the region. Competition for business was fierce. The newly refitted St. Nicholas restaurant had a billiard room, a 10-pin bowling alley, and a pistol range on the 3rd floor. So,
on the 3rd floor. That way you can get some good, you missed your target, you get some good spread off that.
I was about to say, you missed your target, you will hit some people on the street below. So that's good.
You go, why is all the real estate about 300 yards east of the eating saloon? Why is it so cheap?
I can't remember if this was on the podcast or if this was just a real life conversation, but I for sure heard somebody tell me the story about hearing like a gun go off and seeing their neighbor on the balcony just firing into the air. And they were like, what the fuck? He's like, oh, don't worry. We're just trying to keep the rent down.
Stray bullet hit somebody in the head 3 blocks away from here, Nobody catches who did it.
Yeah, but I'm only paying $950 for this apartment, so
Where was this?
I believe this was in LA. I'm trying to remember who told me this.
Populated area. That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah. It's like, it's going onto the freeway. Who cares?
That's a good idea.
They have a pistol range along with Robertson County whiskey, old enough to vote in the next election. Oh, that sounds fun.
Which was 21 in those days.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, old whiskey. Business picked up throughout the summer of 1869. Riddlesburger was probably the most important meeting place in Nashville. Only 2 blocks from the State House, businessmen, printers, politicians, and other rascals frequented the restaurant, and the rooms upstairs were busy with the meetings of fraternal organizations and clubs such as the Nashville Blood Horse Association and the Davis County Agricultural Club. I'm like, well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Blood horse?
Blood horse.
All I know is whenever they say rascals, that means rapists.
It's not good. It's not good.
100%.
That's like Alexander Hamilton's son died in a duel because someone called him and his friends some damn rascals, and he was
that's
like,
right.
I can't stand for this.
Yeah.
A blood horse, by the way, it's what we would now call a thoroughbred. So blood meaning like pure blood. Thoroughbred stallion is a blood horse. So these are horse racing people. The sidewalk outside the restaurant was widely known as Riddleberger's Corner. The corner was an open-air lounge for gentlemen of leisure who enjoyed nothing more than spirited political debate and impromptu displays of amateur pugilism. So there's just literally people just beating the shit out of each other on the street and fighting about politics. So that's kind of fun. Again, we're like a block away from the capital of Tennessee. The State House is right there.
Right by where Andrew Jackson and one of his friends got in a shootout with the Benton brothers like 30 years before, 40 years before. You know what I'm saying? Just firing at each other in the streets.
I mean,
well, Hell's Half Acre, which was right behind the Capitol, was like a shanty town, basically. And that was that way till the 50s in Nashville. It's only recently that, it's become like condo world and full of boring, skinny people.
Yeah, I know, right?
Seriously, this town's been taken over by skinny people. That's
all
the
the
problem.
houses are tall skinnies.
We got to bring back these fat people and let them make this town good again.
Make Nashville fat again.
I've always said what the South needs is more obese people. Chris.
Yeah, there's not enough. There's not enough
obesity.
No, that's why.
Well, no, we just have to scale up.
That's why the South is the most popular area in America.
We just got to scale up from this time period. If these people are oppressed by 500-pound people, we need 1,000-pounders on parade floats every day. Frankly,
I guess that's right. What am I talking about? I'm just talking. I'm caught up in I just came back from Los Angeles. So everybody's fucking skinny there. At least all the fucking. All the people in show business are trying to be skinny, so they can be like the next Aquaman or whatever.
I moved to Los Angeles with $500 in a dream, and that dream was to be the next Aquaman.
There are people out there who are trying. They don't know what else to do
except be Aquaman.
Yeah, they just get ripped and go to LA, and then they're like
ripped and be an Aquaman.
Be Aquaman.
I've met people who are. That's their dream.
Look, I don't need to be the Aquaman. I just want to be an Aquaman of some description. Doesn't matter. I'll be an Aquaman has sex with people. That's fine.
That's usually how it ends up. Yeah, I think that's how it ends up. Aquaman, yeah.
Hey, I'm here to fix your fish tank.
Oh God,
Aquaman? Yeah, that's right.
They got this guy called the Aquaman. You can piss on him.
Okay. He's going to be on a float going to the ballots on election day.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got him at the cast party for Succession. They all pissed on him.
Kept his mouth open the whole time like he had gills.
Oh, yeah.
Inside, the dining room was frequently as lively. The high emotions of Reconstruction played out as radical Republicans, conservatives, and Democrats drank their Robertson County whiskey and exchanged sharp words. A large painting of Robert E. Lee on one wall was a target of both invective and adoration, and polite manners were not always observed. This is from the Republican Banner, dated 1868. Headline, "Stabbed with a knife." A man named William Bradley went into Riddleberger's Tuesday night, sat down by John Jackson, who was eating a meal. He then dipped his fingers in Jackson's plate and coolly commenced stowing away the food. So he just reaches over and just grabs some food off of this guy's plate.
That is I don't care what century it is, that is a dick move. That there's no century where that was okay. It's always meant the same thing. It's always meant fuck you.
To this rather unusual proceeding, Jackson made some objection. I'm like, yeah, I'd imagine
objection?
so. Sir, I object to you sticking your fingers in my gravy and turkey.
People didn't wash their hands back then either.
No.
These weren't clean hands.
A quarrel ensued, which terminated in the stabbing of Bradley in the cheek with a knife penetrating into his teeth. Jackson was arrested yesterday and given bond for his appearance before the commissioner. And so the guy sticks his hand in and then is rightfully stabbed in the mouth by this guy. Just insanity.
What was the name of that guy? John Jackson?
Yeah, so the guy who stuck his fingers in the food was William Bradley, and John Jackson stabbed him. Which especially in those days, as you said, no one's washing their hands. I mean,
I got to say, I hope that right before Jackson did it, he said, "You, sir, need to learn how to use some silverware." And just something epic like that. And he turns around and goes, "Did anybody see that? What, being Aquaman now?"
Yeah.
Kind of right
Be an
for Aquaman.
Yeah.
Lines like that.
things seemed to be going well, and then in the middle of August of 1869, Sam got sick. Very sick. The reports of August 12th didn't specify what was wrong, just that Sam was lying at the point of death, adding, "There is no hope for recovery." That's what the newspaper said. But then he lived, and although it took a while, we know that the final years before his death, he slept upright in a chair, probably suffering from sleep apnea. Unfortunately, 1869 was also the year that Maxwell House Hotel opened up 2 blocks down Cherry Street.
Oh, yeah.
And the hotel had cost more than $500,000 to build and had taken more than a dozen years to complete, thanks to the Civil War. At its opening in October, the Maxwell House immediately became the preferred spot for fine dining in Nashville. Unlike Riddleberger's old stand with its manly atmosphere of rowdy knife fights and pistol whippings, the Maxwell House was a place you could safely take your wife, daughters, and mother-in-law. So
Maxwell House was for the dandies, huh?
Yeah, Maxwell House was for people who didn't want to get stabbed in the mouth just for the crime of putting their fingers in mashed potatoes. Almost the same time, early fall 1869, the city authorities cracked down on the crime of tippling on the Sabbath, which is Sunday laws, drinking on Sunday.
Tippling.
Tippling.
Yeah.
Several prominent hoteliers.
Rascals tippling.
I feel like if you brought that word back for drinking, like, people wouldn't do it anymore. They'd be like, "What were you doing last night? Were you out tippling last night?" Like, "No, Mom, I wasn't tippling. I wouldn't tipple."
I'm straight edge now.
Straight edge. Well, maybe.
I don't tipple. Yeah. Several prominent hoteliers and restaurateurs, including Sam, were caught selling liquor to customers on Sunday. Sam pled guilty in a September court session. He was ordered to pay a total of $750 in fines. By February of 1870, he was in real financial trouble. An advertisement in the Republican Banner announced that the clerk of Chancery Court would auction off some of Sam's jewelries, 1 diamond cluster breast pin with a small chain attached, and 2 diamond cluster rings. The jewelry was sold to satisfy one of Sam's creditors. So this dude had just a diamond on his chest, like a fucking king.
I feel like it'd be a good deal because there's probably enough there for 2, right? Like a regular person could like make 2 rings out of it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
His bracelets, your necklace.
Fucking rings are probably like hula hoops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like his ring would just be like a WWF like championship belt.
Yeah, hell yeah. By the fall of 1870, Sam was out of business. A few months later, early 1871, newspapers announced that the Ambrose brothers, rival restaurateurs of long standing, had outfitted a new restaurant in the old Riddleberger space. After that, Sam seems to have headed to Louisville because the next time we see him in the newspaper, it's as the subject of a distressing rumor dated July 22nd, 1871. There was a rumor in the city last night, which we could trace to no reliable source, that Sam Riddleberger had died yesterday in Louisville. But again, Sam isn't dead. So they just keep printing stories of like, this guy is about to die, and he just doesn't. But once again, Sam did not die. Instead, he returned to Nashville. The next few years are kind of hazy, probably because Nashville and its restaurants were experiencing the first waves of the coming economic depression from the Panic of 1873. In Nashville, over the next couple of years, restaurants closed and hotels failed. During 1874, in the depths of the Depression, Sam opened another Riddleberger's restaurant at 76 Church Street and seemed to thrive. This is from the Columbia Herald, February 5th, 1875, quote, "Riddleberger is 51 years old. He weighs 296 pounds, but the most he ever weighed was 523.
Still talking about it. He
fattened 160 pounds in the year of 1864. At one time, he came near suffocating with corpulency, and the doctors reduced... This is the weirdest shit I've ever heard. The doctors reduced his weight 173 pounds in just 5 days by keeping him unconscious."
I think they cut off a leg.
I was like, I think
the rot set in.
I think that's like not.
You can't do that. There's no way to do that. Just because someone falls asleep for 5 days doesn't mean they lose.
Like I got the
176 pounds.
That's what I was gonna say. I got the flu really bad one time and lost like 15 pounds over the course of a week, but not 173.
Nope.
He said he was always hungry, but he did not eat but twice a day, and he chewed tobacco incessantly. The Ambrose brothers closed their restaurant in Sam's old space, sold the fixtures, and in 1876, Sam was back in business at his old spot, doing a brisk trade. This is from the Nashville Daily American, December 17th, 1876. Sam Riddleberger in his glory. Oysters as fat as he is, always on hand.
He's basically like a washed up athlete. Like he opens up a restaurant in his hometown. Like pictures on the wall from when he used to be like the best.
Yes.
Like now he's just a shadow of his former self.
Yeah, he is a shadow. He's lost all that weight while he was asleep.
Yeah.
All the parents are like, I remember when he was that big. And the kids are like, we don't get it.
76 pounds. I fell asleep for 4 days.
Yeah.
The question remains.
Body by Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah, I don't know. Some guys with Russian accents apparently harvested a couple of my organs.
Unfortunately, less than 1 month after this advertisement, Sam was dead. He caught a cold during Christmas week that turned into pneumonia, and that killed him on the 6th of January. Sam Riddleberger's obituary, the Daily American. This is from January 7th. Death of Sam Riddleberger. Samuel Riddleberger, one of the best-known characters of Nashville, died in his room in the Colonnade building at 3 o'clock yesterday morning of congestion of the lungs brought about by a cold contracted during Christmas week. The deceased was born in Kentucky. At the time of his death, he returned to Tennessee in his early youth and made Nashville his home. So they wrote a nice obit for him. The next day, Sam's partner, Oliver Towles, great name for a guy who owns a bar.
Spelled like the regular towels, Towels.
It's Towles.
Oh,
Later to be founder of a junk shop where you can buy Dragon energy drink.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Ollie's. That's right.
It all comes back around.
He assured Nashvillians that Riddleberger's restaurant would continue under the name of its founder. Oliver Towles did his best, and although it changed hands at least 3 times, Riddleberger stayed in business until 1882. Without Sam, however, the embodiment and illustrator of good living, Riddleberger's was just another restaurant. So, wanted to shout out Sam Riddleberger. Yeah.
It's like if they kept on trying to keep Planet Hollywood open after all the stars left, and it was just some dude named Oliver Towles.
Well, they still got the Planet Hollywood Casino somehow, so
okay.
it continues in a weird way. You know, that's where Britney Spears had her residency.
Oh, okay. They're still getting famous people in there, but do they have the fattest person in all of whatever state it's in?
No, but Charlie Sheen gets drunk there occasionally, so that's kind of fun.
That's the theme.
I don't know. I just wanted to share that because as I was reading it, the descriptions of large people from old newspapers was just giving me a lot of joy of just being like, look at him.
It's just something you
he
wrote about.
fucking loves it.
You saw that and you wrote about it. You go, this needs to go in the newspaper.
Look how fat he is. He loves it.
Convivial, well-oiled joints.
Yeah.
Lots of fluids.
Just bouncing down the street like a bag of goo.
I mean, I think that's people just projecting
right.
their ideas about fat people. Like a fantasy. Like they imagine if I were fat, imagine how much fun I'd be having.
Also, on multiple times, somebody saw this guy, thought he was dead, didn't do anything about it, just went and told somebody. It was like, he's dead now.
Right.
Like, I'm not moving him.
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
He's dead again. He's dead. No, he's not. He's still breathing.
Back.
Oh,
We've heard this before.
God damn
you've
it.
seen him.
No, he couldn't possibly be still alive. Oh my God, he's back, and he's got the biggest oysters you've ever seen.
How big was? Where did he get them? Or is he? How's
Norfolk,
he getting such big ones?
Yeah,
How's he getting such big oysters?
Yeah, he's going to Norfolk, and
so that guy. This is when Nashville was probably like so small.
Yeah, I mean, it was the capital of the state, so it was it had to be big relative to the rest of Tennessee.
I guess so. Yeah, but still, everybody must have known that guy. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Clearly, he was local celebrity. He
like
came.
Everybody. Yeah. Like everybody in town would know who that was. So he would get like special treatment everywhere. People probably gave him food.
Yeah.
Everywhere he went.
That's the thing. If you
make him more convivial.
I mean, that's the thing. He owned a restaurant, but if you had your own restaurant and you had this guy eating there, it was almost like a stamp of approval. You're like, well, he loves it. Look at him.
It was like feeding cheese to a dog. It's like, look how happy he gets.
Yeah. And when he lost weight, nobody liked him anymore.
You think he tried to because he was so famous, and he tried to live a regular life. So he went out with a hoodie with the hood up sometimes. Like actors do, to be like, nobody, you don't want the paparazzi following me around.
Yeah.
Paparazzi back then was hauling a lot of equipment. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to set up fast.
Oh, absolutely.
Hold still.
Oh, you're right. They had to blow up that fucking platform or whatever. They had to hold up that platform and have
Get
it
the daguerreotype out.
Yeah. I wonder how many photographers had their arms blown off back then by putting too much of a charge in the. There had to have been a lot of accidents.
Oh, yeah.
With those exploding freaking flashes.
Yeah, I don't know. I never even thought about that.
I think we should. That's something you should look into.
We got to look it up.
I want to read about that. I bet there were so many people killed while they were getting their family portrait taken, and it must have been a bloodbath. Can you imagine?
This is what the family looked like just before the photo.
Yeah.
It's like, whap, immortalized.
But now they're all dead. They'll stay still.
Yeah. People think, oh, you guys must have been in the war. And no, we did a portrait. You're familiar with flash photography.
I've got the blues. I've got the blues, those Nashville blues. I've got the blues, those Nashville blues. I ain't got no hat, ain't got no shoes. The people here, they treat me fine. The people here, they treat me fine. They give me beer, they give me wine. Hit it, boy.
So we have our hometown segment that I thought it'd be fun to run by y'all. Of course, Ben Sawyer hails from Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, and Chris from New Canaan, Connecticut.
New Canaan, Connecticut.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to run this down, and we'll start with Ben, and then we'll go to Chris. So, first question, Ben, Mount Pleasant, local legend.
I think for me, for this podcast, the best one would be a guy named Tiny.
Okay.
Tiny rode a lawnmower through town.
All right.
And every day he would ride to the Whataburger.
Dang, they got a Whataburger out there?
It's not. It's got dashes in it. Apparently, there was a legal battle at some point. It's a local joint. It's a local one. It's what-a-burger.
Okay.
It's actually fantastic. The Whataburger number 13 in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. If you're ever going through there, definitely stop and get food there. But every day you'd see Tiny. He'd be riding his lawnmower up there. You'd wave at him. He'd wave back. I don't know what happened to Tiny. At one point, his lawnmower was looking pretty beat. And then he had a new lawnmower. So I guess people were taking care of him. I don't know much about him, but I just know that you'd see him. And
a lot of DUIs, I bet.
I don't know, man. He didn't seem like he was wild. He just seemed like a dude who just knew what he liked.
Okay, yeah.
He seemed happy. He was always happy. I don't know anything about him, but I just know that it was just like in my town, you'd see a lawnmower like coming down the road and you'd be like, there goes Tiny.
Okay.
Was he a big fat person? Like, whatever his name was?
Let's just say he would be famous in the 1850s.
Okay, so he was named Tiny because he was big.
He was large. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know how they do.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? Who is the local legend of New Canaan, Connecticut?
Local legend of New Canaan, Connecticut?
Is it you?
New Canaan, Connecticut is like the most boring, rich as fuck town in the world. The local legend, I guess, would be L. Paul Bremer.
Oh my God! Oh, great! War criminal.
Yeah, the guy who fucking ran Iraq.
Yeah. The king of Iraq from 2003 to 2000, whatever.
New Canaan. I guess there was like one guy who was my baseball coach when
Paul
I was
Bremer.
Donald Rumsfeld.
Yeah, Donald Rumsfeld, please. Yeah.
Oh man, no, I mean,
just all the war criminals there. Kissinger's at the CBS.
David Letterman lived there.
Okay, I mean, hey, he's good.
I guess this local like color, as far as because everyone there was a stockbroker, so there's zero color to that. Nobody's in a good mood there. They're all like just rich. That's all. That's the defining characteristic of everybody. And if you're not rich, then you're just like insulted.
Okay. In our town, everybody had a new lawnmower. Everybody was driving new lawnmowers. Sounds like that. Huh?
Is that right? No. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh no, I know what you mean. Yes. It was like nobody drove a lawnmower. You'd be fucking they'd throw you in a river or something.
Paul Bremer would put you in Fallujah.
But funnily enough, I did have a guy who became like the only homeless man in Nashville, which was like a real novelty in that town. So he became like the local color. Except I knew his story because there were so few.
Yeah.
He was the only one. So I knew his whole background. Like he was just a guy who was my Little League coach.
Okay.
T-ball. I guess it's not Little League. T-ball. And I never got a hit in T-ball.
What?
I've talked about this before. I mean, my trauma started at day one in sports. I couldn't. I hit the tee, and I don't know what happened. I never got a hit. Anyway, so
this is why that guy's homeless. He was hoping to go pro as a t-ball coach, and you were out there missing the ball. And the scouts came out to see him, and he never made the majors.
Probably, and the
majors.
They don't want to see a major league t-ball league.
They were not nice. Yeah, they were not. Coaches back then were not like even remotely supportive of bad. Players. Like, even if you were 8, they were like, you are a fucking nightmare. You're ruining my team. And you're like, what? Like, you shouldn't say that to me. I'm 8. So he gave me a batting average. After he gave everyone a batting average written down, and he gave me .000 on a piece of paper for real.
No.
So I was very angry about that, even as a kid. I wasn't angry, like I didn't say anything, but I mean, secretly I was like, that seems rough.
I did go to a lady and have a curse put on him that one day he'd be homeless, though.
Yeah.
I was aware that I got a 0. You know what I mean? Like, I knew I didn't need like a report on it. It was easy to keep track of my batting average.
Right.
It wasn't like, I wonder what my batting average was. So that just seemed like mean. And then he became homeless, and then I was working at a supermarket in town, and he was sitting next to me outside when I was eating lunch, and he was like sitting on a different stairwell. I was eating soup, and he said, "You're not going to make it in this world. You're not physically strong enough." So he had and this is after he was homeless.
What?
So I was like, man, this guy fucking hates me.
This is literally a Seinfeld episode.
He hated me. So
it's the coach being like, "Can't stand you. Can't
and the
stand you."
punchline, of course, is that he was right.
I'm just waiting for him to retire from being the homeless person in New Canaan so I can go take that position.
He was correct. I was not physically strong enough in this world.
Ben, what is the worst bar? And keep in mind, when I say that, worst can mean good. My favorite bars are the worst bars usually.
Well, Rivers, my county, Cabarrus County, North Carolina, passed liquor for the drink for the first time in, I believe, 1995.
Okay.
It was highly contested. It was like 12 votes passed it in the county. And I will tell you that the no vote was concentrated in Mount Pleasant of our county, because we have Concord, Concord, North Carolina. It's the big city. And, heathens there. But they never had a bar.
Okay.
The whole time there is one now. There is a place called 73rd and Main, which we went from having no bar or fancy kind of restaurant to like a very nice bar and restaurant.
Okay.
They widened the highway, so you can get there from Charlotte now. People think it's real fun to come out there to to come out there to the 19th century.
So this was a little town.
Oh yeah, it was like 1,000 people.
Oh, that small.
Yeah. Wow.
Rural North Carolina, dude.
Okay, cool. And what did your parents do out there?
There's a mill, Canaan Mills, where my dad worked and my grandma worked there.
Okay.
The mill, it was in Concord, in Kannapolis. But we ended up, we lived on the cusp of Concord. We moved out in Mount Pleasant when I was like in middle school. Okay. But that's kind of where I identify with.
What about New Canaan? What's the worst bar?
Bars?
What's the worst
New
bar?
Canaan?
Yeah.
I mean, they're all bougie junk. You know what I mean? Like, rich people like brass rails and wood and stuff because it reminds them of fucking slave ships. 100%. I believe that. They feel like they're connected to some ancient society that made the world, so they like wood and brass and that kind of crap. So they're all wood. They're all fake fucking rich. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Ship's bells around behind the bar and
ship's bells.
Just junk like that. So I don't know. Like if there's a dive in New Canaan, there wasn't really one there. There was nearby. You could go. We'd go to Port Chester, New York at night because it was open late. Port Chester was open till 4 a.m, so we would drink in New Canaan or wherever, and then we'd drive to Port Chester and get drunker, and then drive back because that was the 80s.
Once you crossed the state lines, they couldn't get you. You got drunk in one state, caught in another.
It was the 80s. It was like I don't know why everybody thought it was fine to drink and drive, but they did. But yeah, we'd go to a place in Port Chester, which was called Rudy's, and then there was a place near it called Pat's Hubba Hubba, which was
sounds like it was owned by the Riddleburgers.
Hubba Hubba.
But that was a hot dog place, and we would go there after.
That's so disappointing that it's not a strip club.
But you should go to I don't know if they're still there, but they were like the best place to eat when you're drunk. Chili dogs and stuff.
Oh, well, yeah.
Pat's Hubba Hubba, and they would say, "Do you want Hubba Hubba on that?" and stuff. It was like it was a good spot.
Boobs.
What do you mean? Port Chester was a place I could go to approximate being in a real life.
Okay, all right.
It was like a place where you could feel like you could go to Norwalk too, which is nearby. Now Norwalk's all fucking expensive, but there was a lot of wealth, so it really made life sort of boring. You know what I mean? Like it made life. Like there was not a lot of local color.
Yeah,
local color was just like. Someone fucking killing their wife, I mean, that was like, and then getting it, and then getting away with it because they had a good lawyer. That was like the local color of where.
So the local color was crimson red.
The local color was just like, it was just like gross, rich people, behaving misogynistically. That was like,
Fuck.
And you had to go out of town to get things like chili dogs and stuff. So we did. I was interested in getting the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is that like I'll talk to mom about growing up because we grew up without much money. I'll say to my mom, when we were young, we were poor, we didn't have these things. And my mom would be like, we weren't poor, we were low. And she feels like whenever I say that to her, like somehow it's a bad thing. And I'm like, nah, it was actually awesome. Like, it was just like a fact that we didn't have much money because like. We were talking earlier about stand-up comedy, and it's hard to be funny if you have no struggle in your life, and I got plenty of that.
Yeah. There's so many things about being wealthy that are negative in terms of growing up. Like, I mean, you don't learn anything. I mean, the only way you learn something is if you run out of money, then you find out that you know how to do absolutely nothing. And that, that happened to us. Like, my dad ran out of money, and we ended up, really having a very difficult time because to a certain point I had been coddled, and then I was just sort of cut loose, And man, I mean, those people in those areas don't know how to do anything. They literally do not know how to fix anything. They don't know how everything is hire somebody.
Yeah.
So it creates a dysfunctional and a self-loathing class of people because they know nothing. They know that if it weren't for their handyman or their gardener, that they would not. They know nothing. They know nothing except for making money, and if it goes away, they're fucked. And that's a shitty culture.
Yeah.
It's not a culture. It's just I don't even know what it is. It's just like a racket. Like, we were kind of okay. We had some money for a while, and it felt nice. But then when it went away, it was like, man, oh man. You just find out how stupid rich people are.
What's the best local food?
Whataburger. I already answered that.
You already answered it. And for you, it's got to be, you got to drive
food?
to go to the chili dog place.
Fucking local food. It's another thing. It's like whatever fucking bougie food of the moment. And it's New Canaan, so it's like not New York. So any self-respecting chef's not going to want to be in New Canaan.
Right.
For those fucking cowards who live in New Canaan instead of New York. Anybody with real, you know what I mean? Anybody with any fucking guts would be in New York living.
How far is New Canaan from New York
an
City?
hour. It's a commuter town. It's a bedroom
gotcha.
community, for cowards who want to live on fake farms, and feel safe like during the day. Like, ooh, we're safe on our farm that is run entirely by people we hire and pay nothing.
Right.
Anyway, they're fake farmers. So like the food there is for dopes, you know what I mean? Like, because they don't know what good food is, because they're all afraid of anchovies, and they're afraid of any kind of food that's spicy. So like they have to make some dumbed down version of Thai food,
Right.
that isn't real Thai food.
Right,
it's more
right.
like fucking, I don't know, rich people soup, or something. It's like, this is like curry, but it's not spicy at all. So it's like, it's green. Oh, it's just like green stew.
Campbell's chicken noodle with like some red food coloring in it.
Yes, that's what. Then rich people are like, I really enjoy ethnic food. It's a fucking nightmare. So anyway, but there was like, my dad is a pretty interesting guy, even though he lost all our money and ruined our lives. But he
Fascinating man.
So he would take us to this place called Richard's Backyard, which was a kind of a diner type joint in New Canaan. It was like a little slice of normal life, where it was like a guy who wore an apron. And this was also the 70s when I was going there when I was a kid, very little kid. So that was fun. And they were like, because New Canaan was at one time like had a big neighborhood full of the people who provided the services in that town. Like the people who did all the stonework and stuff. There's a huge Italian community. They've all been pushed out. Now they live who knows where. But when I was growing up there was still a bit of a middle class, and you could find it. In the 70s, they were gone by the 80s because they had to live wherever they could live, not pay the rent there, But I was wondering, like, all those beautiful houses in Connecticut, like, were built by Italian immigrants in the early 20th century, who then had to like leave the town and all those houses behind that they built. To leave them to the white fucking motherfuckers who live there now in those houses. It's just very interesting because you wonder, where do these beautiful houses? I just heard that just recently that there was a big Italian immigrant community that all were stoneworkers, like first generation, that built all these beautiful mansions. And now just hedge fund murderers live there.
Yeah, well, it could be worse. Like around here, we have all these beautiful houses from like the early 19th century, and the people who built them, they couldn't even leave.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean
it's true.
Oh, yeah.
This is true.
No, it's. I mean,
I love going to plantation houses where the people, like, you get the older guys who like valorize the people who live there.
Right.
And then you ask them, at the Hermitage, this is a big one. I'll go over there and be like, who built this house? And they'll be like, why Andrew Jackson built this house? And I'm like, all by himself.
Wow, that's crazy.
He must have been strong.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like, oh, well, so actually.
Is the people...
And you're like, okay, just making sure.
Right.
Just making sure.
But he was very nice to the slave.
Oh, they're awesome.
He was an incredibly magnanimous man.
Yeah.
When he wasn't filling out tax forms to file them as property.
Right.
Or hunting them down with runaway slave ads.
Yeah. Number 4, again, we might have answered this. Local ghosts or monsters. Is there any?
Can I just? I want to answer for Chris. The monsters were all the people.
I was gonna say, yeah, I know where Chris is going with local monsters.
Correct.
Paul Bremer is the local monster.
Paul Bremer, I don't know if he lived there. I just know he went to the same school as me for a little.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and you know what else?
Crazy.
Who else is from there? I don't know. I can't remember. I was thinking Tucker Carlson, but I went to college with Tucker Carlson. But that was in Hartford, Connecticut. Tucker Carlson wasn't from Connecticut. But those are the kind of people who populate that scene. You know, that scene.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut, because my dad had money still then, so he paid for my college. He was just like, it was like one of those things where it was like, oh, you got into this college, it's the best I had a college counselor who was trying to funnel me toward stockbrokering, which is what all that culture is. So he just was my college counselor at my school, private school. I went to 2 years of private school.
Okay, so from New Canaan, Connecticut, Katherine Heigl, Christopher Lloyd, Christopher Maloney, Allison Williams, so Brian Williams, I guess, lives there. Harry Connick Jr., God, Edie Brickell, Paul Simon lives there.
Wow. Fucking Billy Joel lived there when I was growing up.
Hold on. Glenn Beck, Ann Coulter.
Oh my God.
Brian Williams, Mike Wallace there. That's Glenn Beck and Ann Coulter.
Yeah, it's a fucking dump.
Never mind. I don't feel a need to challenge
That's the local fucking monster.
challenge the local celebrities.
I want to hear regular. No, I want to hear.
I was gonna say,
I'll tell you. I have a good local monster.
Okay. What do you got?
I mean, they're at the Boy Scout Camp Spencer. They said there was a hermit that lived in the woods.
Ooh, that's cool. I love a wood hermit.
You go on nature trail at dusk, and then as you were walking back, the counselor would be like, "Here he comes," and then we'd all run. But then one kid would always go missing, so we just basically. I think we had to. I'm just kidding. That's the only monster that I think I knew of. Like,
yeah.
There's like the hermit, and I was.
Imagine if I was from Imagine if either of us was from Loch Ness.
Yeah.
Dude.
Then we'd be in fucking. We should have made it up.
Yeah.
I'm from Loch Ness, North Carolina.
We didn't tell us that.
Loch Ness, North Carolina. Perhaps you've heard of it.
Oh shit! What's your local monster besides Glenn Beck?
People on my street, we lived on kind of a. We weren't really that rich, so we lived on like sort of a version of a middle class street. Diverse street for New Canaan. Yeah. Because we were on our way out. I mean, we were diverse in the sense that they were real humans who didn't have like $80 billion.
Yeah.
You and your family were going the way of the Italians.
Yes. We were. Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. And we did. We're long gone from New Canaan. But down the street, there was a house that never put on lights at Christmas or anything, or it had never was open for Halloween or anything. So it was always dark. And they had a kid that lived there. Well, I thought it was cool. He drove a primer gray Chevy Nova that had the Executioner and a Grim Reaper on the front hood. That he painted, like a hand-painted Executioner. And it said the Executioner. And there was a junk pile behind that house because the street we lived on was a subdivided farm. So, like, the farm's old junk pile was like back there behind their house, so we would go back in there and get junk out of there. So we were pulling an old sewing machine out of the junk pile because I was like, we need this for whatever reason. And then the lady who was in that house said, "Get over here! You guys can't have that. You can't be walking through our yard or whatever." But she took us in the house and said we had to wait until the doctor came home. And that the doctor was not going to be happy.
This is a Stephen King book.
And one of the kids I was with ran away and got my mother, and she came down and knocked on the door, and the lady let us out. But she was keeping us, and I just wonder how that would have ended.
It would have ended with your organs being.
I was going to say,
real. That is not a normal thing to do to get kids. We were all like fourth graders.
The doctor,
just getting kids to come in your house and holding them there.
Holding them, that's abnormal.
We didn't do anything wrong.
False imprisonment.
Anyway, and we didn't get but I'm just mad because I didn't get that sewing machine. I was always bringing home things like that.
Well, it's because there were children's bones under the sewing machine. That's why they didn't want you touching it.
I was like, I had a whole bunch of shit. Like, it was all like farmers' shit. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like a magic. You know what I mean? I was like, what the?
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was like,
junk piles are fun.
I was like running around with like tubes of toothpaste that were the farmer's toothpaste.
Made out of the bones of kids.
Running around with the farmer's jockstrap on my head in the woods.
The doctor comes in and goes, "Let's see how you like it whenever someone removes things from you."
Anyway, so the local monsters were the Davises.
Yeah.
And the doctor.
The doctor.
That was their name, the Davises. I don't know who the doctor
fucking
was.
terrifying,
I just
dude.
remember their house was like weirdly empty, and it was frightening. Anyway, that's our monster.
Last one. Favorite thing that's not there anymore, Ben.
It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Not Charlotteans living there.
Okay.
Because people from Charlotte have moved in. It's become very expensive there.
Okay.
I liked it better when they didn't widen the highway.
All right.
I get Domino's pizza.
They didn't what?
They widen the highway
I
now.
like that you're from a town that's small enough that like widening the highway is your main gripe.
No, it's it's about 45 minutes northeast of Charlotte.
Yeah.
And so like it used to be a 1-lane road, like
Yep.
going up until you got to the university in Charlotte, and it was like there was nothing but farmland there, and it's just encroached out, and they widened the highway. Next thing you know, the Mount Pleasant Pizzeria's gone. We got a Domino's.
Well, it seems like what's happened here is that probably all of the bankers that used to live in New Canaan got pushed down to the banks in Charlotte and pushed everybody out to where you're at.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Because Charlotte is
all
the
finance.
city that I spent the most time in is soulless. It is soulless. I love the city to death. Every time some soul gets there, the bankers move in and crush it and pave over it and name it after the cool thing that they paved over.
Yeah. Yours might be the junkyard.
Those are the monsters. The monsters are the bankers.
I mean, hey, absolutely.
Things that are gone. That junkyard's definitely gone.
I was about
Our
to say,
neighborhood is totally different. That street has been, even though it's still like, it's a subdivided farm, but they've built on those plots the biggest.
Right.
They built every house to the biggest possible legal, they're all exploding out. They've built these McMansions on these funny kind of like, it was not a blue collar street, but it was like, it's like the idea of taking this subdivided farm, it was called Thurton Drive, and Miss Thurton lived up at the end in a farmhouse. So it was only, because I was living there in the 70s, that was only 20 years or probably 10, 15 years past the time they divided it up. This was all like farmland and, so
Chris, apparently you haven't taken much of a ride around this street here in East Nashville.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're describing.
These houses are bursting out of these lots. They're just like, they're like a cuckoo clock. The world's biggest cuckoo clock. That's how these houses look like, because people like them to look, like we need to underscore that we're rich.
Yeah.
So it's not enough for it to be just a swollen house. It's got to have like fucking gargoyles hanging off of it and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, 14 tennis courts. And
the house that I grew up in is not there anymore, and it was bought up by some people who I believe work for a bank. Knocked down the house, which was exactly the right size for the lot, and the McMansion they built there. They built a garage that has like a side entrance, but the driveway is not long enough for that.
Yes.
So they had to basically like pour 1 million gallons of concrete to make a ramp.
That's exactly right.
So they could turn their giant SUV into this.
So stupid.
And you're like, just go to any other neighborhood.
When I was a builder in Charlotte, someone paid my company. We did home renovations. Paid our company a good bit of money to go to their house. And because the houses that have been built on either side of them were bigger than their house. So they paid us to come put giant dormers on the front of their house off the roof. Functionless, didn't go to anything. Went to the attic. But huge dormers with like mega expensive windows in them.
Right.
Absolutely functionless. In fact, like actually probably a liability now because you don't have a roof there that just blocks out everything, right? You probably have like more energy leakage, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But when we got through, it looked bigger.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll bet they spent $50,000 on those dormers.
That's what our street was all like. A lot of like ranch houses and stuff, and they've all been replaced with these humongous, and they're all like $2 million because the demand to live in New Canaan is so high for prestige reasons that people will live in like mansions that are seriously like 6 feet apart from each other.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Because they
It's
just
like Beverly
want to have
Hills.
the address. It's
burns, they all
so
burn.
Stupid. And it's like it was a very funny place. The only thing I will say as far as a place to grow up was it was a great place to drink and drive because
There you go.
the police didn't want to arrest anybody because they knew that their powerful parents would like have them fired. So you could get away with pretty much anything in that town, including like I knew kids who got in accidents and they got covered up, and the people who got injured were it's all people who have. It's like mostly CEOs that live there. It's like the police are afraid to do anything. So it's like,
I was gonna say when there's so much money laundering and insider trading,
yeah, like I ran
worker
from-
abuse going on
I
at the
ran-
companies, drinking and driving is nothing.
I ran from the cops with a fucking funnel and beer in my car. And I ran away from them, and I got away from them and hid in a driveway. And I was drunk, and I was 17, so that's not old enough to drink.
Yeah, yeah.
Or have whatever. Just you can't be drunk and driving when you're 17. But
Yeah.
they just told me to go home. They told me to go home after I ran from the cops.
Wow.
Like if I were a fucking black kid in New Canaan at that time, I probably would have not lived.
Right.
I mean, it's
In New Canaan.
It's
Or-
unbelievable.
yeah, or anywhere.
It's unbelievable. I mean, so that's a great place about New Canaan is it's lawless for the whites.
To Canaan's land, I'm on my way where the soul of man never dies. My darkest night will turn to day where the soul of man never dies. Dear friends, there'll be no sad farewells, there'll be no tear-dimmed eyes, where all is love is joy, and the soul of man never dies.
Fellas, we have time for just one more segment. And of course, it is time for our jam of the week.
Oh, I love this segment.
And
This is the best segment.
today I found myself once again at Bear Creek Sports Bar in Columbia, Tennessee, the same place I first heard John Party's Dirt on My Boots back from the May episode that we did with...
What the fuck were you doing in Columbia?
Well, so when I drive up here, that is exactly where I run out of gas and need to refill, and there's this terrible little bar, but they have Wi-Fi and they'll let me sit there, and Cracker Barrel's across the street, but they're always busy, so I just chill there and work on the show. And I was sitting there, and today there was a guy who was probably his own sort of local legend sitting at the bar, and as the songs were playing, at some point they played More Than a Feeling by Boston, and he goes, "More than a feeling, I'm coming back to karaoke if y'all want to hear me." And just like that. But of course, we've done More Than a Feeling before. But this song came on, and I was like, man, I bet there's some good stuff with this one. So, of course, you're hearing it now. This is Skid Row from 1989. I Remember You. That's right. Power ballad, baby.
That's a good song.
This song is...
I was looking at Chris being like, he's gonna.
I was 1989. That was a song I took completely seriously. Like, this is a very good song.
well, you and...
This is one of the best songs and one of the hardest rocking.
Yeah, well, you and 61 million other people took it seriously. It has
Before I found out about Fugazi, so I was like, this is fucking heavy.
this is rock and roll.
This is fucking heavy
This
shit.
guy's wearing makeup. Fuck.
61 million views, 12,893 comments, and y'all, I found the best.
12,000
That's right. I sat.
What the
I
fuck?
sat
Somebody sees
there.
11,000 and goes, I still need to say this.
Something
gotta
is left
register.
unsaid.
Don't be
Someone will
left
get to
out.
my comment.
I sat there and read every single one of them.
No,
First
you
up,
did not.
He
No,
might
you
have.
did not.
First up, Susan Tyndall Drayton from 2 years ago. This was a fabulous concert at Del Mar Hall, St. Louis. The guy I was seeing fell out drunk, and so I seen this group with his nephew, and he was such a gentleman. I was seeing stars. I will never forget this concert. Thank you, Shane Rippey. You're one fabulous guy. Love you. It's like, oh boy, this
Shane
dude.
Rippey, one of the. Wait, Shane's the guy.
Shane is the nephew. So this guy got drunk, and his wife, I guess, took out his nephew. And it sounds like,
This guy
Shane
got-
Rippey might have got lucky with
This
this.
guy got that drunk before the show.
They had tickets and everything, and he couldn't drive. And Susan's license has
This ain't
been.
New Canaan. You can't
Yeah, yeah.
drive like that.
You can't just do that. So, shout out to Shane Rippey. You got one over on your uncle there. That rules.
He wakes up, he's gonna be mad.
Oh, wait, she said he was a gentleman, though.
Yeah. Well, hey,
That could mean a couple things.
I mean, he's 5, and they
Yeah.
put him in a tuxedo shirt and took him.
Well, she also said I was seeing stars, and it's like, well, are you talking about the Skid Row concert, or are you talking about Shane Rippey? Dickhead from 3 years ago.
Kid.
You stars should have pictures of me as a kid singing with you. You came to see the baby dancing and singing on the bars for you. I wrote songs with a lot of you. Baby loved the bar. My bar got a lot of you starts. You promised me, yes, I owned the bar when I was 4 years old. Open my books, I dare you. My office like he left it. My books behind the desk and pictures of me and him on the desk and the pictures on the wall with the stars before y'all got big. I really am a star that got robbed by everyone, even my own mom. I'll never get any royalties from none of it. You stole from a kid.
That was a Macaulay Culkin?
Yes, it was a movie. It's a Disney movie called Bar Baby, where a baby owns a bar, I guess.
And this guy goes, this story needs to be told. He goes to every video with more than 5 million views and posts that comment.
It's like somehow this baby that owned the bar, and he would dance at the bar, he got taken advantage of. So that's no good. You know, they stole from it's like taking bar money from a baby. You know,
There's
that
so
old
many
saying?
fucking men that are mad, feel like they got ripped off. Like a whole fucking every man in the world feels like they got ripped off. Seriously, and they want to litigate it over and over.
Well, this guy might be in that category. Troy Garango from 2 years ago. First with this song, I managed to seduce a girl. Really, the best times at the time, and until now, she's still trying to survive to live with me. Sometimes this song can reconcile our fights. Sometimes not. This is a song for all ages, for both of us. Thanks, Skid Row.
Wait, for all ages for both of us?
I think he means like a song for all time, like
all
for both of us.
Or he's
it's
like, my wife was 15 when I married her. I was 48.
I just love, sometimes this song can reconcile our fights. Sometimes not. It's like this lady's just screaming at me, you don't do shit. You don't work. You don't take out the fucking trash. And it's just, I remember you. That is not going to work.
Clicks play on the boombox.
Yeah, they put it on. He puts it on and remember this. Like, no way,
Not this time, Daryl or
Become
Troy.
immune to my elixir.
Yeah, it's not work. I remember you's not working anymore. We got to figure something else out. Shane Gaffey from 1 year ago. Hello. I just got a bad ride with that shit. Happened right when I hit. What? What was the last thing I punched? I don't remember. But I had a sharp like needle poke in my lower back right above the middle of my right butt cheek. Went up the small of my back like a belt line. It was a poke like a needle poked me. Shit's gotta get handled. You gotta stand by it. I honestly included that just for the phrase, what was the last thing I punched? Because that's amazing.
Sounds like that guy, like he was slowly dying as he got stabbed in the ass. And he goes, I got to call 911, but he got delirious and just went over to YouTube, typed his last words in. He's like, someone will find me.
Yeah, well, what it sounds like is this dude be punching everything. And last night he punched something and it fucked his back up. And he's like, I can't do it no more. You should see my bathroom. There's 150 fist-size holes in those walls.
And it's tile.
And now I can't do it anymore. I got to retire. Put my jersey in the rafters of punching inanimate objects.
So I remember you as the days. This is about his punching.
Yeah. It's about this bygone era where he can no longer punch things.
I bet his family's happy about that.
Yeah.
The late 80s was a good time for punching.
Driving T-birds and punching people.
Yeah.
Out the T-top.
Yeah,
I
it was
mean-
like the cockfighting of 1989. It was the being a fat man. Of
Yeah. I had a friend, drunkenly punch a hole in my wall at my apartment, and my dad is a house painter, so it was one of my favorite calls I ever made to my dad. I was like, hey, Dad, how do you patch up like a hole in the wall? And he goes, how big's the hole? I was like, fist-sized? Not me, though. And he was like, oh, yeah, you go get a patch, and told me how to do it.
I punched a lot of stuff back then when I was drunk because there was no, I would have put up a comment like that on YouTube, but there was no YouTube. There was no YouTube, so you just punched a radiator or whatever.
Olga from 3 years ago. I had a dream where I lent money to a young Sebastian Bach, and then he got into his drinking spree and he didn't want to give my money back. I had a very realistic 10-minute long conversation with Sebastian Bach where he kept saying he doesn't remember borrowing money from me, and I had to come to his fucking house and take my money back from him. So look, I don't know. Don't lend money to Sebastian Bach. He gets drunk and never gives it back. That drunk sleaze. He's doing some monkey business there.
So, in fact, according to her, he will not remember you.
So on the Nightmare on Elm Street dream realm, she's having issues.
She's mad about him from a dream she had. That's what, and she woke up and not knowing the rule that nobody cares about your dreams. She goes, everybody will.
Right.
This qualifies as one of the 12,600 comments that deserves to be on this.
That's like
video.
an O. Henry short story. It's like the gift of the magic.
It's like a short story from back in the day when only 4 people were literate and you just had to read whatever they wrote. So it's another Rhonda fever dream.
There's a lot of lonely people trying to tell their dreams. They can't even. Nobody. They got to tell them to YouTube.
But not for those 10 minutes.
B. Sharon from 2 years ago. Those were the days when rockers tried their best to look feminine with earrings, long hair, and high-pitched voices.
Tried their best.
How do men make their hair grow so long and screech like a woman? I never could understand this fad.
These are questions I have also. Actually, I feel this guy
Trying to look like
man.
women. I almost want to kiss these sexy bitches, but I'm a heterosexual man.
Wow.
Like, you can kiss them. That's fine.
This guy has gone beyond the point of having to pretend he's not gay to people he knows.
Hey, you know?
He now sporadically goes on the internet.
Stop trying to make me kiss you, Sebastian Bach.
If one did want to hump these boys, how might one not do that? Because I don't
Stop
want
trying to make me gay, Skid Row.
I'm a heterosexual male.
I want to have sex with Sebastian Bach, but I'm not gay, motherfucker.
This guy goes to his wife and goes, "You see that comment I posted last night on another video? Do you see would a gay guy post things like that? I don't think so.
Yeah. How do they do it? How do they make me gay?
Matthew Hall from 2 years ago.
Tipper Gore's like, I knew it.
I knew they would do something.
Matthew Hall from 2 years ago. Thank God I have an old school dad who taught me all of this. And I'm like, that's the dad type to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
He's like, look at this, son. Like,
Tired of these kids thinking I'm not with it.
Yeah.
Read this comment, boy. You say somebody cool. What was the profile name on that one?
Right.
Matthew Hall.
Matthew Hall.
Yeah.
He goes, that sounds like a name they won't be able to track down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Matthew Hall said this.
Karen Crilly from 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, she's loose. She's just out there.
This is a fresh idea. Go ahead.
Comment number 12,000.
My hubby and I are hitting 29 beautiful years of marriage. I would love to make it to 40 years. I'd be so happy, but I'm not going to live that long. As a spirit, we can travel between dimensions. It's biblically written and scientifically proven. So win-win, whatever your beliefs. Like I said, it's biblically written, scientifically proven in Ezekiel, the Bible, the bronze polish that they talk about. Yeah, they can travel between dimensions when they're in spirit. Science is proven. Just talk to any doctor or nurse. They can tell you what they've seen and heard.
Bronze polish.
That's the craziest part. I was like, are they eating bronze polish?
What's in the Bible? There's nothing about bronze polish.
Well, it was the Bronze Age.
I've never read the Bible. There's no fucking way.
It was the Bronze Age. They probably had polish. I don't know.
I don't think they even knew the word polish.
She goes, they go, where does it say in the Bible? And she goes, no, Ezekiel. Like, just probably one nobody's ever read. Ezekiel says that. All right, just look for the bronze polish.
So what does she want to say? What does that have to do with Skid Row?
Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. I think this is probably their marriage song or something, but they don't, she doesn't talk about it.
That was 2 weeks ago, so she doesn't have 11 years left in her.
Yeah.
But we'll see her in the other dimension.
Yes, absolutely. You can't miss her.
She's definitely not going to live another 12 years if she's drinking so much. She's talking about the Bible having bronze polish in it.
Huffing that bronze polish. She's like,
Mom, would you shut the fuck up about bronze polish in the Bible and just stop drinking fucking schnapps?
Stop eating the bronze polish.
Stop drinking schnapps.
it's in the Bible.
Well, where are the bronze polish? Stop saying bronze polish. It's the most annoying thing to say. I don't even know what it means. I mean, just be drunk normal.
Maybe in this dimension you feel that way, but...
Don't get drunk. I can't even talk about dimensions. That's okay. That's a normal drunk thing to talk about. But bronze polish, no one knows what that is.
We said dementia. Dementia.
Dimensions. Jim from 5 months ago. I got a divorce, and now I'm looking for One day it's going to be loyal and faithful. I'm looking for a Spanish woman or a Canadian woman.
Oh, yeah.
As long as they can be loyal and faithful, love me for what's in my heart, not my pocket. My wife is gone because she cheated on me, and that's why I got a divorce. And who is this?
There we go.
That's how it ends.
This guy thinks he has an online dating profile.
This guy,
I set one up.
This guy was writing the comment. Someone knocked on the door. He's like, "Oh, finally, she's here." It's like she's fucking Domino's.
This guy goes, "I'm waiting for someone to comment on my online dating profile."
Yeah, I mean, that is what this is. Yeah, they are absolutely waiting for someone to comment on this. And finally, Rosalind Earp from 10 months ago. To my FBI spiritual advisor, were you that black kid named Quentin? We played spin the bottle and went to the closet after school. You came over to my grandma's house and we were doing something outside in the yard. Weren't you going steady with Tanya? I'm not sure, but when I was about 15, I saw you in a car with another guy and you drove by me and Shayna. I was walking with a friend down Riverside Drive. I hollered at you and you guys turned around, but I was painfully shy and exited into the bakery parking lot in Woodinville. When I was 17, I was with Tammy, and we were picked up at Sid's Handy Mart by you and a friend of yours. You were in the passenger seat. You said you had a girlfriend. One time, on New Year's, after my husband kicked me into a wall, and Tammy and I walked to AM PM, you were in another car with a friend and asked us if we wanted to go smoke some weed. Another time, I was in Seattle, and you were a black man again, and we went into your place. You said you were a student. You know what you did. You know what we did. One time in Seattle, you were yet another black man, and Todd just went into an inpatient treatment. You tried to get me to go with you to a hotel room, but I declined. I knew I was in love with Todd. Wouldn't want to jeopardize that. In Everett, you were Todd's boss, and you rented out that house when Brody and Bree were babies. I think that you and your ceiling partner were on Dwayne Alley Sider's work crew during foundation work. The other guy came over to my apartment once. I remember. It seems like you've always been close by. I'll be gone soon. I hope to see you both once again one day. Right now, I'm trapped in an FBI Twilight Zone nightmare, but soon, God will wake me. Maybe someday, someone will clear my name here, but it doesn't matter. I'm trapped in this prison, but God is going to set me free. No matter what the disguise, I remember you because you are way too gorgeous and sexy and sweet to forget. Just wanted to say I remember you and always will.
Wow. Callback at the end.
Callback, and also this is like the same problem with the Mandela effect of just like people don't know the difference between, you know, Sinbad and Shaquille O'Neal. This is just, this lady just keeps seeing random black guys and being like, it's the same. Look, he can float. He has a personality that floats between men. And you're like, I think this is, you're just seeing different people.
It's just like,
you were a black guy again.
Yeah,
It's not something that people say. That's not something that doesn't make, that doesn't make any sense.
Oh, makes no sense, but there it is. Skid Row.
and I saw you, and again,
Yeah,
you're a black guy.
Man,
Wow.
Oh, man. There's so many lonely people. That's all I think after this segment. I've been on the show enough times that, like, this is unbelievable to me. Like, I'm so glad that, you know, we're all doing a podcast together because we got something to do. These people
We're out
are
of the
so
house.
lonely that they're writing essays about crazy nonsense.
You know, people will say, like, you say, where'd you hear that? And they go, on the internet, right?
Yeah.
It makes me think that people think that, like, they just go to a web page and they go, well, this is the internet. And they just don't know that's not an email, right? They just go, here's where you can type something.
Yeah,
and they think they're sending it to the person. It just is nuts. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
picture them all in prison or, you know, in a just somewhere where there's, all alone. They're all alone. They came back from wherever they go. I don't know much about people.
Yeah.
they came
I
back
really
from
don't.
wherever people go.
I really don't know where they go or where they. But I know that these people are definitely lonely as hell.
I don't know where they go, but I do know that when they go there, they're still, again, black.
I know.
Or white.
Again.
Again, every
Oh
time
my
Rivers
goodness.
comes, I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
again with the white.
Yeah,
One thing I like
Still-
about you is you're always black.
Dependent in that way.
I love that.
You never change races
I
on me.
love that.
You were tough
Wherever I
boss one
see
time.
you,
Steadfast.
wherever I see you,
Yeah.
you're always black.
We're the true people.
Well, yes, and that is Skid Row's I Remember You.
I can't believe how little those comments had to do with Skid Row. Nothing. Sebastian Bach would be very mad.
Our jam of the week. Ben Sawyer, where can people find you online?
on Twitter, at Ben_Sawyer, on Instagram, at Sawyer Comedy. And actually, I got a Twitter for that too. You can find me on the Road to Now podcast, a history podcast, which I do with Bob Crawford. You can find us on any podcast player you're listening to this, and Saturdays and Sundays on Sirius XM channel 124.
Hell yeah. Chris Crofton, where can people find you?
You can find me at The Crofton Show on Instagram and Twitter, and you can listen to my podcast, Cold Brew Got Me Like, anywhere. And you can join my Patreon and listen to my other podcast, Cold Brew Got Me Listening. And then I got a book out called The Advice King Anthology from Vanderbilt Press, published it. You should go buy it. And listen to my record, Hello, It's Me, which is on all the music fucking things.
Definitely check out everything from Dr. Ben, everything from Chris Crofton. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Rivers Langley. You can find the show on Twitter at The Goods Pod. Every episode ever, youtube.com/TheGoodsPod. Best way to support this show, head to patreon.com/TheGoodsPod. Join the Tower of Power. Second best way to support the show, head to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. Show that attitude of gratitude, because if you do not have the attitude of gratitude, Dede, we're sending you to New Canaan, Connecticut.
Yeah, and the food there is terrible.
The Goods from the Woods was recorded and edited by me, Rivers Langley. You can find our show on Twitter at The Goods Pod. Our theme song was composed by Jonas, the Space Cowboy.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.